Good morning, guys. Let's get started. I hope you guys can see my screen. These are the uh, items what we have covered so far yesterday. If you look at this, we have gone over the software development lifecycle. What is SDLC is all about, how we follow different phases of um, development cycle to testing, from testing to production migration. That's how the project get executed in every organization, either it is a retail, manufacturing, finance, whatever it may be. But the project execution lifecycle follows certain software development lifecycle. All right. Then we have talked about the Tableau architecture, how the three-tier architecture works, how your data source, what are the different kind of data source Tableau supports, what are the different type of file type it supports, like Excel, text file, CSV file. So there are different kind of file types it supports. Also, Tableau supports different kind of relational database connection, Teradata, Oracle, or SQL Server, or SAP. There are different kind of, and we have seen yesterday how we connected to a Oracle HR database, and we could see the list of tables. Then you can create your own data model within the Tableau. You can drag and drop the tables. You can create the joins between the tables. So that's where we talked about the PL SQL statements, like how we apply where condition, how we apply sorting, and then what are the joins, left join, right join, inner join. Those are the basic of PL SQL, like DDL statements. So we'll be going over that again. The similar way, we come back to the worksheet, and then we saw like how your database connection, whatever table columns is showing off in the worksheet. So in the worksheet, we'll go over that in more detail today, but that's basically we covered. So before we start on today's session, let me give you a quick highlight on what is data and metadata. I'm not sure if you guys have any idea about it, what is metadata and what is data and what's the difference. So data is fact. Data is fact. So if I say $100,000, so that is data. But this data does not have any meaning until and unless I tell what is this 100,000, or like to whom it belongs to. But if I say, and this is the sales in Asia region for iPhone in the month of January, year of 2015, I'll say quantity, sales quantity in Asia region for iPhone month of January, year of 2015 is 100,000. So now that 100,000 are has make more sense, right? So till now we didn't know what is that number meaningful. It does not make any sense until and unless you tell to whom it belongs to, or what is that fact. So the data about data, so who provides the information about this number is called metadata. So now if you look at this, so 2015 sales Asia region, and the product is iPhone, and the month is January. So that's metadata. So if you talk about this like this, so what is your measure? So sales quantity is the measure, right? And then what is your product? iPhone is the product. So every company, they are selling the product, different kind of products depending on their product portfolio, right? So then when you track the sales, when you track the expenses, or you track the revenue, so those all terms are measure. You are numeric in nature. So when it is numeric in nature, the numbers, they are fact or data, but those are non-numeric. When I say non-numeric, in the sense which provide the information about that data, is called metadata. So that's very important for you to know what is data and metadata. So data is fact or data is measure. Metadata is data about data. So if I say $60,000, so it does not make any sense until and unless I say employee X working on the region Y in the month of January year of 2015, his annual salary is 60K. So that 60K makes sense when I provide the more information about that data. So that's data about data. So in that case, employee is one like dimension, and your year is one dimension, time period is one dimension, which region they are working is one dimension. So those are all metadata. And then what is the measure? Annual salary is the measure, because that's where your 60K fits into, right? So annual salary is 60K, but whose annual salary, where he is working for, on which region he is working, which department he is working, that will give you the information about that 60K expenses. So when you say expenses 60K, does not make any sense until and unless you say for which department the expenses is 60K. Okay, so which provide the data about data is called metadata. So data and metadata, and I will be using interchangeably. Sometimes I will say fact, or sometimes I will say data, sometimes we'll say measure. So those are all same, so numeric in nature. Okay, but metadata, like department, for example, if somebody asks you, give me some example of metadata. So when you say $60,000 expenses, your measure is expenses, number is 60,000, but for which department the 60,000 is the expenses, for which month or which year or which quarter the expenses is 60,000. Those information are dimension or metadata. Okay, so department, your product, your region, all these things, or year, your time period, everything is your metadata. Alright, so that's about data and metadata. Why I'm talking about it, we'll come to that once we go to the worksheet. Okay, so what we have done so far is, so in the Tableau desktop, we created the connection. Okay, create the connection. Then after creating the connection, so we came back to the worksheet. So in the worksheet, what you will see, so basically that is the workflow, right? So you have to build visualization. You have to build the visualization. Okay, so once you build your visualization, then the next step will be, you will be creating the dashboard. After you build the dashboard, you have to publish the dashboard in server or in Tableau public. So very simple workflow. But here in the building the visualization is nothing but all about your development, how you do the development by looking at the business requirement. That's all about building visualization. So each and every menu options, each and every functionality we have, is everything is during the building visualization you will be using. Okay, so then after that, when you create the dashboard, it will be very straightforward, but very important development activities, building your visualization by looking at your dashboarding requirements. Okay, so during this build visualization, so once you create the connection, then you will see the three section: row, column, page, and then you have filters. Okay, so these are the very important section. We'll come to that when you go to the Tableau desktop, then we'll see that. Okay, so let's go over quickly about the slide deck so that we can see. Okay, so we have covered this. These are the architecture. Then we have gone through the desktop, server, reader, and public. Okay, then we have done the installation configuration steps. We saw like 4-step installation, and after you did the installation, then we configured with the Active Directory. Okay, so once we configured with the Active Directory, we allow the user to log in with a single sign-on. Then we went to desktop. In that desktop, we saw different kind of connection types, data source connection. So then we saw how to create connection to the Oracle. Okay, and once you create the connection, you can write the custom SQL, or you can drag the tables and create your own joins in the Tableau data model itself. Okay, after you create the connection, then you have to come back to the worksheet where you will build your visualization. Okay, so that's exactly the same workflow. If somebody asks what is the workflow of your project in the Tableau implementation, so this is exactly the workflow. Okay, remember it. Okay, then we have done this, how you guys will install the Tableau server. Then we talked about the view, table and view. So same way you have the physical table. On physical table you create a subset that is called view. Same way in the Tableau, if you have a dashboard with 100 departments and you only concern about 2 departments or 3 departments, you don't want to see 100 of departments, sales or profit, then in that case you can create a view of your own choice on top of that master dashboard. Okay, so there you can select which department you want to keep only, which department you want to exclude. So that means it does not directly change your dashboard what you have developed in your visualization, whereas it will create a view and they can save their own view for their subsequent reference. Alright. Okay, then you share your view, you can share the link. Okay, now jumping into the Tableau desktop. So yesterday we just went to Tableau desktop and we create the connection. So after you create the connection, here you have the option, right? So connect to data. Okay, so if you create the connect to data, so that was a question I was asking, like there are 5 different file types. So one is Tableau data extract, one is access, one is Excel, one is text file, and one is import from workbook. So one workbook can be used for another workbook as a data source. Excel files, today we'll see lots of activities through Excel database. Okay, so we will connect to Excel database, then we'll build our own visualization by looking at different features. Okay, so then you can connect to Tableau data extract. Okay, so once you create a data source connection, you can extract it and save it for your future usage. So that's Tableau data extract. So these are the 5 different file type it supports from the database standpoint. And then from the server standpoint, so you have different relational database it supports, like Oracle, Teradata, SQL Server, SAP HANA. So lots of adapter available. You just need to click. It also supports multi-dimensional database like Hyperion Sbase. So company do budgeting, forecasting in Hyperion, and their actual sits in the Oracle ERP. And now they want to build the dashboard by combining the actual and budget. Budget is their future forecasting. Actual is the real-time actuals. So when they do variance analysis, so that's where organization predict the future. They say next quarter we are expecting this much of revenue, 2 billion of revenue, 3 or year over year how much we will be growing as a company. So all these future prediction versus what actual they're getting, that's the variance analysis they do. So that they can like plan according to their operational expenses efficiency, and they can improvise their revenues and maximize their profit. Okay, so that's where we also connect multiple type of data source. You are connecting to Oracle relational database for actual data, and you are connecting to multidimensional database for budget or forecast data. Okay, so you can create lots of computed columns. So every worksheet in your desktop, when you build a visualization, you have option to create multiple worksheet, and all worksheet can be integrated into again different dashboard. Okay, so each worksheet can connect to different database. So but when you combine all into one dashboard, so your single dashboard will show a budget is coming from Hyperion SBS and actual is coming from Oracle, and then you can create some computed column to say actual minus budget to do the variance. That kind of reports will go over that on the tool itself. Okay. All right. So then this was the screen where we came for creating the visualization. So that's where you will see once you create the connection, once you come back to the worksheet, you have three sections in the left side. One is data, like which database it has connected. Then one is dimensions, and then below that there will be a measure. So there are three things. That's why I was talking about dimension and measure. So automatically what happens, Tableau will identify from your table columns by looking at the data type, which can be a dimension, which can be a measure. But it is not always true that whatever Tableau identifies is correct. So you can move the members, you can move the columns from dimension to measure, measure to dimension. If you feel like yesterday we connected to employee database. Employee ID is not a measure, but it is numeric in nature. That's why Tableau identify employee ID as a measure, but other things like first name, last name, department, everything as a dimension. But it's not true, right? So employee ID cannot be measured. But if I pull employee salary to the data set, then that employee salary or annual salary or bonus, that can be a measure. But their employee ID is the information which provide the information about that employee. So it cannot be a measure, although it is numeric in nature. So you just need to understand which is, although they are numeric in nature, it does not mean that always they are measures. Okay. So you can move between the dimensions and measures, which can be a dimension, which can be a measure. So that's how you have to drag. You see that this section is called measure, and in the previous slide deck you will see the dimension. So once you create the connection to database table, automatically it will pull what are the dimension columns and what are the member columns. Then in the right side, if you see, as I said, row, column, page and filter. So you are not going to write any script at all. So everything is drag and drop. You have to be very smart enough to understand what can be in your column, what can be in your row, what can be in the filter and what can be in the page. So in that way, automatically Tableau will build the visual SQL, Viz SQL. So behind the query is called Viz SQL, V-I-Z SQL, Viz structure query language, visualization structure query language. That's the core of Tableau engine. So it really works fast on top of the flat files. So that's why when it run on top of the backend tables, it create the extracts and keep it in the server, and from that extract, when it provide you the output, it works really fast. Okay, so that's how the Viz SQL work. And then you can move the dimension members from dimension to measure, measure to dimension. You can drag which one you want to apply for filter, which one you apply for the page, and how you have to do the sorting. We'll go over that in detail. All right, so that's okay. So here some portion we left over yesterday. Let's continue there, and then we'll come back to the tool itself. We'll focus more on the live demonstration than going for the slide deck. So that's how I proceed with my training session. So we'll go very few slide decks, then we will directly jump into the tool itself, and we'll go over each and every activity in that tool itself. All right. So Tableau architecture, supported data source, metadata concept we talked about, connection options we talked about, SQL concept. So there are different kind of PL SQL basic statements you can go over, and why you need to know is, if you know the SQL, when you do testing for your development, whatever you have developed, from say example, yesterday we tried to connect to the backend table and we pull some data and show it on the Tableau dashboard. Then how you will reconcile with what output you are seeing in your dashboard versus what output you are seeing in your dashboard versus what is there in the backend table. So to understand that, you need to know basic SQL, like what are the DDL statements, data definition language, what are the select statements, what are the from condition, what is the where condition, what is the sort by, order by. So all those things you need to know basics PL SQL. What the join between two tables, what is left join, what is right join, what is inner join, what is cross join. So very basic PL SQL statements you need to know, so that you can do the reconciliation between the backend data versus what you are pulling in your report. Because in your report you are not writing any queries, you are just dragging, dropping and building your visualization. So if something goes wrong, to identify that, you need to execute the similar kind of query in the backend table. Then you can find out if there is any data mismatch or data discrepancy. Alright, then we'll go over that filtering, sorting and groupings today, how to create all those things in Tableau itself. So we'll not talk about how to create that in the PL SQL statement, but we'll see the same operation, how you are performing in the tool through the menu options. Alright, so this one is the architecture we talked about. Always remember what is the difference between Tableau Public and Tableau Reader. So Reader is a free read-only version, and Tableau Public is the data cloud. So you are publishing your workbook or packaged workbook in Tableau Public rather than publishing in your hosted in-house server, Tableau server. Alright, so this was the architecture, this is the core architecture. So the beauty of Tableau is it is compatible with any any electronics device like iPad, because these days many executives, they do not carry the laptop, they carry their own device. So many companies started executing a project called BOYD, bring your own device, BYOD. So bring your own device is an initiative taken by many companies these days to optimize the operational expenses. So if you do not use company asset, they do not need to spend on purchasing laptops or anything like that. Because even if they issue laptop, top executives are carrying their MacBook or their iPad, and they are using that for their presentation or any kind of subsequent meetings. So to make sure people are comfortable on accessing those dashboards or reports, Tableau works really well in those iOS device. Okay, so there is no resolution issue. We'll go over that when you are developing how the design time itself you can set the resolution where this report should fit. So whether it is for laptop, whether it is for desktop, or it is for iPad. So you can do that also during the design, so that all the reports can be easily viewable without any kind of screen resolution or screen issue when they access from iPad. Right, and another good thing is in the server side, it cache all the extracts in the extract mode, and you have two options. One is extract mode, one is live connection. So when you connect live, you always hit to the backend tables. All right. Many times the extract modes really works well, because you pull the data extract, store it in the Tableau server, and then when you keep accessing through the reports, it will pull that from that extracts. Okay, so until and unless there is a demand to look at every minute direct live data, then you go with the extract mode. And yesterday you saw in the server settings there is a frequency, how frequently you want to refresh your extract. So in that way, every 5 minutes or 10 minutes the same extract will be automatically refreshed and stored in the Tableau server itself, and you can reuse it. There are different data sources it supports. Alright, so this is, we talked about the metadata concept. So what is the dimension, what are the measures, so how the dimensions and measures are different from each other. Alright, Then when we create a connection to a database, so that means you provided all the credential, you establish the connection, and then you drag which table you need. So in that database you might be having hundreds of tables but for your report development you will be looking for 4 or 5. Then you just use that, create a data source connection and save it on Tableau server. Okay, so when you save it on the Tableau server, then you can reuse that every time. You do not need to re-establish the connection again and again. Okay, you don't need to go to the data connection, provide all the credential again, you drag all the tables, create the joins. It's not the way we develop. So one time you do that, then you save that data source. So when you save it, the extension of Tableau data source is .tds. Remember this, so I'll ask anytime. So .tds is your Tableau data source. TDS, T for Tableau data source. Okay, so as we proceed with our training session, you'll find lots of extension of different kind of objects in the Tableau visualization. So keep like remembering that, because many times you'll be asked what is the Tableau data source extension, what is .tds file. So is that a workbook? No, it is a Tableau data source. Alright, so once you have that data source connection, then we go to worksheet, and in that worksheet we look at the dimensions and measures, and there are lots of properties for each member. I will see how those properties can be changed or customized by a developer during the design time itself. Alright, connections, so data extracts, we talked about table joins. You can write custom SQL. So if you are very good at PL SQL, then you don't need to create lots of joins in the Tableau data model. What you can do is you write your SQL either in Toad or SQL Server or wherever you are comfortable. Bring that query, paste it here. That's it. Save it, and then automatically when you execute it, it will bring all the columns, and then you can go to your worksheet, build your dashboard. So that query you can compile on any kind of client product like SQL Developer or Toad, and exactly the same way Tableau work. So you just need to copy and paste it in the Tableau custom SQL. So in place of you join the multiple tables manually, you can write that in the custom SQL and bring it here to the Tableau. Okay. All right. So this was the desktop navigation. Okay, so yesterday we left from this point. So this was after you create the connection. So this was the navigation or the desktop page. So left side you'll see the first is data. This section is data. So data is the connection. Second is the dimension. Third is the measure. Okay. On the top of this toolbar, if you see, that is called book 1. So that is nothing but sheet 1. So sheet 1 is nothing but the worksheet name. So this is the worksheet tab in the bottom. So you can create multiple worksheet by clicking on next to each other. So there is two icons. One is worksheet and one is dashboard. They are close to each other. So first you will see in the real time hundreds of worksheet developed in one workbook package. So one is called workbook package. The complete set is called workbook package, but each worksheet can be combined together in a dashboard. So the below one is called status bar. Alright, so this is the data window and this is the worksheet. So for this worksheet, either you create a worksheet from this icon, or in the toolbar menu option in the top, there is called worksheet. So you can create a worksheet there itself. So there is one called dashboard. So you can create the dashboard there as well. So either you click on that menu, new dashboard, or you just click here in the bottom. It will automatically create a dashboard for you, and you can name it. You can rename it just like Excel. Then in this right section, if you see, this is the worksheet view. So this is the visualization section. Okay, so how you drag and drop, automatically your visualization will show up here. So this is the visualization section. So where you have a row, you have a column, and you have page, and you have filters. Okay, so there are different section in this which we will be using to build our own visualization. and in the top you have lots of menu icons. So we'll go over that during our practical session. Okay, so we'll see what are those menu options, how that icons are useful for you guys. And there is another one in this section. This is called cards. So in that card there are different kind of sections. We'll see what are those options. You can create charts, you can create different colors, you can add the tooltip to your visualization. Like there are lots of stuff you can do through these cards. Okay, so we'll go over that as well. Okay, so that's about the desktop navigation. So this is the Tableau view. So in that visualization section, so you can see if it is a graphical or it is a chart view, then there is a title. Okay, so there is a title, there is a header, there is a legend, and then you have axis, left x-axis, y-axis. So you can give the names or labels to each section. Okay, so this is very generic. Like whenever you create a chart, or you create a bar chart, or you create a pie chart, you maintain that what will be in your axis, right? What is x-axis, what is y-axis, give the label to this, what is the title of that, what will be header, all those information. So it can be easily visualized by the top executive, saying, oh, this is sales versus profit report. In that way they can understand. Or any kind of things you do, you need to give more visualization or colorful information for better presentation. All right. And this one is a tabular view. The same section in the tabular view, you can see that these are all called cell, so data. So you can change all the formattings, like you can bold highlights, you can make it negative numbers are red in color, or you can prefix with the dollar symbol, or you prefix with any other currency symbol. So however you want, you can do lots of formatting here through menu options. You are not writing any code for any point of time for your visualization creation. Everything is through menu options. We'll go over that again. Okay, so this is the row, this is the columns, and this is the tabular report. In that tabular report, these are the data. Okay, for this region, central, east, south, and west. For this product, for this category, you have the data. Okay, you have the sales data, sum of sales. So in that sales data, you can format each and every cell, or if you are every region, you can make a different color coding for different region as well. Alright, so here if you see that there is some highlights here. Measure is the quantitative field, is the numeric field, and dimension is the categorical field, like is the data about data, that is called metadata, right? That's the dimension. But when it calls measure, that is the data, that is a fact. Sales is the measure here. Okay, but department, category, subcategory, region, all these are dimensions here. Alright, so keep that concept in mind, because every time we'll be using that dimension measure, or metadata data. Okay, or metadata and fact. Okay, so measure, fact, data, all are same. Dimension or metadata, both are same. Alright. Alright, so these are the extensions. So Tableau workbook will be TWB. Tableau packaged workbook will be TWBX. So what is the difference between workbook and packaged workbook? So packaged workbook is a collection of multiple workbooks. So if you have lots of workbooks, each workbook might be connecting to a different data source. So when you packaged it, so that means it is collection of different workbook, including their data source or filters or report conditions, whatever is there in respective worksheet, everything will be packaged into the packaged workbook. Okay, so TWBX. People ask, what is the difference between workbook and packaged workbook? Okay, so when you say packaged workbook, so you can give a packaged workbook to somebody who has a Tableau reader installed in their machine, so they can view the report. They can automatically, it will create the connection, because the packaged workbook will hold the connection information. Okay, so in that case, they do not look for what is the database connection, where I have to connect to look at this data. So what we do, we build the report, we export it save it as a packaged workbook, so automatically it will hold the database connection as well as all the design or the visualization in the workbook. So we can pass it to a different person who does not have a Tableau desktop, whereas they have Tableau reader. So in that reader, they can access that packaged workbook, they can view it. So we'll open today lots of packaged workbook. You will see how does it work. Alright, then Tableau bookmark file, TBM, Tableau data extract, TDE, Tableau data source is TDS. So remember these 5 extensions, very frequently asked question. So what is workbook, what is packaged workbook, what is data extract, what is data source connection. Okay, everything is very simple. It's TDE, TDS, TWB and TWBX. Alright. Alright, so let's go over. So these are the items we will be covering. Local data connection, exploring the data in Tableau, how to filter, sort and create the visualization groups. Then we'll see how to create the set, all these things for today. Alright. So let's go here to all programs, Tableau. And you can get a free 1-year license. Tableau is giving for if anyone is having a student ID card, you can just send a copy to that support. So they will issue a passcode, the product key, so you can activate your product for 1 year, so that you can install in your local machine. Then you can practice how this Tableau developer or Tableau desktop work. So once you practice, then you can navigate to each and every menu options. That's where you will get to know what can be done, what cannot be done through Tableau, or what is feasible. So part of your feasibility study, you need to know each and every menu options Tableau has and how it can perform. Okay, so this was the landing page, and then after that I said, so if you say I want to create new, so it will take you to a new workbook. Okay, so if you say I want to create a connect to data, so you can click on connect to data. So let's connect to data. So in the connect to data, you have lots of connections, right? So yesterday we talked about how to create the connection to Oracle. Same way, there is a connection for SBase, which is a multi-dimensional database. So if you see that, it will ask you the server name, username and password. Then you give connect. After that, you will see the list of application in the multi-dimensional cube. Then within that application, you have different database. So automatically it will pull the database, and then you can click on OK. So that's how your multi-dimensional works. So it's very simple adapters which establish the connection. So you go to Teradata, give the server name where the database server is running, then you authenticate it and provide your user credential and connect. So that's how your like database, relational database, different kind of database which are server based can be accessed. So now let's go with the Excel file. So if you click on external file, I have some Excel data source. So let me go with Superstore. Throughout our training session, we'll connect to different Excel data source, so that we can look at different features. Okay, so in that, if you see that there is one is called order, one is called return, and one is called user. So if I drag this order and drop it here, okay, so now it pull of all the columns belongs to that orders table. And then here you see that there are two type of connection. One is live and extract. This is anyway Excel, so I don't really care about it because it can be work anyway, it's Excel. But when you connect to any kind of relational database, make sure you understand your business requirement, how frequently they want to look this report, how frequently they want to refresh this report. You do not need to maintain a live connection always by hitting to the backend tables. Okay, now you see here, and here another one is you can apply the filter here itself. If you want to apply any certain filters at the database side, when you pull the data to your data source, to your data connection, you can apply the filter here. So that means you are restricting during the extract itself. You are not, again you have another option to apply the filters in the designer, in the desktop visualization creation step, but still during the source data extract you can even apply the filters. Here there is add filters. Okay, so now I will say go to worksheet. So now you see, so that data is connected to superstore orders database, and then within that there is a superstore orders table in the superstore sales training database. Okay, so now if I right click here, I will say I want to add to my saved data source. So here, for example, when you install Tableau, you will see in your My document, My Tableau repository, you can create anywhere, wherever you want, C drive or D drive, wherever you want, but this is your data source. Within that data source, by default, you'll be seeing these 4. So now suppose example, I will keep this data source as My Superstore. Okay, Superstore. Alright, My Superstore. Save it. Alright. So in this database, so if you see that, automatically it identifies what can be in your dimensions and what can be in your measures. So for example, so suppose you see you don't want this measures. For example, I will say orders is not a measure. I will just drag it and drop it in a dimension. So now you see that order come to the dimension. So if I feel no, this is by mistake, I want to take it back, you just drag and drop it in the measure. So you identify and you feel whatever Tableau automatically identifies, is that correct information, is that the correct measure or not. If it is not, then you can just move the dimension, moves the member between the dimension and the measures. Okay. Alright, so now let's see if you drag this order, drop it here. Alright, so that will be order, order date, order priority. Okay, so then order, let me drag and drop it in the row. So if you look at this, for this order number, if you want to see the cells, so you drag your cells, drop it here. So now you see by order how much cells. So in that way you can see how your orders work. So that is what I was talking. We'll take over all the questions at the end, but dimension and measure, how you will know that it's a numeric. So you have to understand your data. So numeric, which is numeric in nature, that can be your measure. That is a basic rule of thumb. So if you say sales, if you say profit, so those can be your measure. But which are non-numeric in nature, like which provide the information about that measure, those are coming as a dimension or metadata. Like department, although department ID, that can be numeric, but department IDs cannot be a measure. So you are not going to perform any kind of calculation on the department ID. Nobody in a company, just think in a logical way. A company will not say how much total department ID. Nobody sum of the department ID, right? So that cannot be a measure. Everybody look at the data, the sales, the profit, the revenue, the expenses. So like whatever is measurable, those are measures, although those are numeric in nature. But the basic rule of thumb is numeric versus non-numeric. and just use your intelligence to understand what can be a measure. Your employee ID, nobody asks you to take sum of employee ID, so employee ID cannot be a measure. All right, so that's how your measure and so dimension work. All right, so let's and if you don't want to do this, you just drag and drop it here. All right, so that's how you drag and drop the row, columns, page, and filters. Okay, so before we go there, so now we move the order from measure to dimension, because we feel this should be in the dimension, not in the measure. All right, so now let's go to this profit. Okay, so in this profit, if you see there is an icon here, so you right click there. So there are lots of menu options here, right? So you can right click and add to sheet, or you can drag and drop. Second thing here is called default properties. It's a very important properties which we use very frequently in the real-time scenario. So in the go to this default properties, there is one called number format. All right, click on number format. So here it will show you what kind of number format you can change for this profit. So these are all design techniques or design best practice we follow. So you do not need to change the formatting of the number in the grid, whereas you can see change directly in this member, so that whoever use this member in their report, in their visualization, automatically the properties will show in that way. All right, so let's go here, say currency custom. So suppose profit you want to show only rounded number, you don't want to show the decimal places of profit, so you make it as a 0 decimal place. All right, so let's say you make it 0 decimal place, then negative value. So whether you want negative profit to be within the parenthesis, or you want that to be prefixed with a negative sign, or it postfix with a negative sign, however you want, you can do that. So let's say I want to make this as within the parenthesis if it is a negative. Okay, so there is units here, so you want to separate the units by thousands, by millions, or billions. Okay, so in that way you can separate that as well. All right, so here there is a dollar symbol. So as I said, you can give any symbol whatever you want. Either you want to prefix with the dollar symbol, or you can delete it, or you can give ampersand, or you can give dollar. So whatever you want, so accordingly it will show here. You see that when you change here, automatically in the negative number you can see that 1 2 3 4 dollar 1 2 3 4, that means it is a prefix. But if you say no, I want to postfix, so you can just give, so you can see here. So whatever setting you are doing at this point, include the thousand separator, click OK. All right, so now you come back here again, you'll see that properties is remain same. So number format, so now you change that to decimal to 0, so that is there. So same way let's do for cells. Go here, default properties, number format, currency custom, and make it as 0. You can use this arrow to increase and decrease, and you can type in as well, so that's a good thing. Alright, so now let's go to another properties type called discount, then default properties, then there is a aggregation operation. So whenever by default you drag and drop, so it will look at your aggregation operation. So if you say sales, so I want to see sum of sale, or I want to see sum of profit. However, the default properties is set, accordingly your aggregation will show up you that functions. Just like, see, if I drag the cell and put it on column, so what it is saying? Sum of sales, right? Why it is saying sum of sales? Because if I go to sales, I go to this default properties and then look at the aggregation, so by default the sum is selected. But if I change the sum to average, or I says to minimum, whatever functions you write in PL SQL, everything is integrated with these menu options. You are not writing any code to calculate the sum of cells. Just check this, automatically it will be calculated. Alright, so same way, let's delete this. So now go to discount. For example, I will change this default properties, aggregation, I'll say average. Okay, and then I can add some comments. So now I make this discount as average. I'm not doing the default sum of the discount, right? So what I can do is I'll say comment. Let me put something like we make it every average discount. Alright, so I made it average, so I'll make this comment as average discount. Alright, so now if you keep your cursor on top of it, you can see that the discount says average discount because I added the comments. But if you keep the cursor on the cells, so there is no comments here. That means by default whatever is the aggregation operator, it will just take that. So when you change this aggregation operator, always add a comment so that if any other team member is working on the same data source, they can understand, okay, you change this to average discount, this is no more the sum of discount. Okay, so that's why we add click here, default properties, then you add a comment, so it will give you the option how those properties has been changed. Whatever properties you change, make sure you add that in the comment section, so that it will automatically show that on top of when you keep the mouse cursor on top of it. So now go to number format. So here there will be something called percentage. Okay, so in the number format, it's already this percentage. You can change 2%, like 2 decimal place or 3 decimal place, however you want, and then you click on OK. Alright, so that's how so what we are going to do here is default properties, comments, average discount percentage. I'll say average discount percentage. Alright, so let me now save this again so that it will say it is already exist. Yeah, so now I saved it. So this is how I created the connection. I moved the members from major to dimension, from dimension to major, and then you can change different properties. So play around with these properties. This is very important. If you feel some majors or some members properties is not correct, because automatically identified by Tableau is not always true, so you have to correct it as per your requirement. So you just go for that, go to default properties, then you add comments, change the number format, change the aggregation. So all these options, like suppose you are building a headcount report, so you need counts, you don't need the sum of heads, so you just need the count of heads, right? Count distinct. So when you write a select statement, select distinct employee ID from employee table. So same way here it automatically does for you, count distinct, right? So everything is there, all the menu options. We'll go one by one, like whenever we come across throughout the training session. Those are very frequently used one, but there are lots of other options which you can even explore by yourself once you install Tableau Desktop in your machine. All right. Okay, let's take 5 minutes break and then we'll come back. We'll continue how to create sortings, how to create filters, how to create groupings. So there are lots of stuff to cover for today. So we will continue there. Let's take a break for 5 minutes. Alright guys, so what we have done is we created the connection and we saved that connection. So you saw that when you right click and add to save the data source, so you can publish that to the server as well. So once you publish it in the server, so it will be forever. So whoever wants to use it, they can use it. So what you are doing here is add to saved data source is nothing but you are saving into your local machine where your Tableau desktop is installed. Okay, but if you want to publish it into a server, then it will be usable by all your work group or everyone in the enterprise, whoever is trying to use that same data source. And one more thing you saw here, when you click on save, it gives you the extension. So Tableau data source or Tableau packaged data source. So if you have multiple data source, or if you have some filters applied on the data source, everything can be combined together to a packaged data source. So TDS, TDSX, same way the Tableau workbook and the Tableau packaged workbook. So differentiate between data source, packaged data source, workbook, packaged workbook. So it's collection of data source basically. When you say packaged workbook, collection of workbooks. Okay, so that's very important, that extension. All right, so now you saw that how we created the connection. Let me close this and we'll reopen it and we'll go with the saved data source. So now I don't want to save this workbook. I'll keep closed. So now let me open the Tableau desktop again. So I will see one more data source called my superstore. So now you see we saved that as my superstore. So in the saved data source, earlier it was having 4, now the new one came as the 5th one. Okay, so I will just create the connection directly to this one. I just need to click on that. So you don't need to create again the connection, you don't need to drag the order table, nothing to be done. So if it is saved, it will show you in the list of saved connection, and then you can click, it will directly take you to the my superstore. So from here you will identify where it is connected. So it is connected to my superstore and all the dimensions. We drag the order from measure to dimension, it sits here, and if you keep mouse cursor on top of it, it will show you average discount percentage because we edited that comment. So whatever we did, that data source gets saved there, and we can reuse that for all our subsequent development cycle. Right, so here in the bottom, if you see, there is called sheet 1. So you keep clicking here, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4. So these are all one worksheet. So collection of worksheet can be the name, it will be book, workbook. Okay, so if when you save it, so the one workbook is the collection of multiple worksheet and dashboard. So one dashboard is collection of multiple worksheet. Alright, so this icon is worksheet and the last icon is called dashboard. You can see that icon symbol, there is a bar chart, here there is a square box. So that means multiple worksheet can be combined in this dashboard. Okay, so that is the last step before you publish the dashboard. So we will go over that, but first one is now to developing the worksheet. So if you right click here or right click on the sheet, you can see that copy sheet, paste, rename, delete. So you can do all the, if you want to add a new, you can click on new worksheet, you can create a new dashboard, or you can create a new story. Where this is a new feature cam where you can create a new story. Okay, so now suppose I want to delete this worksheet and it will be going away. Alright, so delete worksheet. So now I have, say this one is okay, so I will say sales. So this is my sales worksheet. So when you give multiple worksheet, make sure you give the correct name so that it can be easily understandable which worksheet is for what purpose. Alright, now you click outside, then you drag the cells to the column. Alright, so now you go here to the department, drag it to the row, then you can maybe drag the category, drop it on the row. So now you see that, so you have all the departments here and you have the categories here, and it creates the chart for you. So you did not write any code or any programming. So the good thing is, when you keep your mouse cursor on top of that bar, it will show you for which category, for which department, what is the total sale. Okay, so now if you see that there is an option called keep only, exclude. So when you create it, you do not restrict anything, but when the user comes in, if they want to create a view on top of this, they can say which one they want to keep only or which one they want to exclude. So I'm a manager for furniture department, so I don't want to see office supplier or technology. So what I can do is, I can go here, select that, and they say keep only. So when you say keep only, then automatically it will only keep furniture. So that means you applied a filter on top of the department to only show the furniture. But if I select that and delete it, so automatically it will bring you everything. So from your standpoint, when you design, understand what business is looking for. It should be a global report. But on top of that global report, if a specific user wants to create a view for their own department, for their own category, they can still do that. Alright, so now let's say I have profit. So here there is a mark card. So I will talk about that, what is this mark card is all about. So there are 5 section here, objects. One is color, one is size, one is label, one is detail, and one is tooltip. Alright, so tooltip is nothing but when you keep your mouse cursor here on the bar, you are seeing this section, right? So this is called tooltip. So what is the table, what is the department, what is the cells? So if you want to edit this definition, then you can click on tooltip. So you see that here, category, department, cells. So if I change that, if I say category name, or I say department name, I say total sale, click OK. Now if you keep your cursor here, now you see that it says category name, department name, and total sale. So if you want to give your own definition to that, by default it is picking your name of the column. If it is department, if it is category, if it is sales. But if you want to change it, then you can use this tooltip. Okay, now there is something called color. Okay, so let's drag this profit and drop it on top of the color. Hold on, profit, drop it on color. Alright, so now when you put that on the color, so automatically it will create a color coding for your graph. So if you don't have anything here, you just delete it. So this is just sales, right? So in the sales, if you want to highlight out of this total sale how the profit is looking, so if you just drag and drop it on the color, so automatically it will make which is the deeper color, then that will give more profit. So it says the table which has a more profit. So if you want to see in that fashion the color coding, you can do that. Show title, edit color, and edit title. So if you want to edit color, you click on this. So in place of this color, if you want to pick any other color, so you can still pick it. So suppose you want to pick blue. So if you click that, so automatically it will show you how the sum of profit looks like in your charts and reports. Alright, so that's how your Very basic explore, like how you exploring, how you drag and drop your column, your row, and you create the report, and then here you can edit the tooltip and you can add the colors. All right. Okay, now let's go for another worksheet. Let's say I will give the name as filter. So we'll see how to apply the filter here. Okay. Let me pull the customer segment and let me pull the department. I have sales. Okay, so you have here the sales, and here you have the customer segment and the department. Okay, so sum of profit. Alright, so now suppose you want to apply a filter on the region. So you want to see for which region how much profit or how much sales. Okay, so that means you have to apply a filter on one particular measure or one particular dimension. So you right click here. So there are lots of options and properties here. So one is very important, which is called show quick filter. So when you click on show quick filter, so see what happens. So here you see that one quick filter came through. Alright, so all Asia Pacific, now you uncheck everything, bring only Asia Pacific, bring only EMEA, bring only Latin America, bring only North America. So whatever you want to do, you can just uncheck it and you can just keep only that member checked. Okay, so here there is one icon. Let me show you guys that. Okay, so if you go here in this filter, there is a single value, single value list. Okay, so all become radio button. So when you have multiple value selection, then you can do that by checkbox. But when you want to single value, so you can just change it to the radio button. So only one can be selected at one point of time. You say all, so it will be all region. If you say just one, so you are not writing any code at any point of time. Everything what you are doing is you are applying through the menu options. So all the properties you have. So here what you did, you click here, show quick filter. So if you want to take it out, just uncheck it, so automatically the show quick filter will go away. So if you want to apply again, go here and quick filter. Okay, so that's the radio button. And if you want to change any properties, so let's go here and look at this. So if you want to see edit title, so now I don't want to say region, I'll say select one region. Okay, so click OK. So that header changed. So select one region. So in that way, business knows they have to select one, then automatically the graph or chart, it will change. Alright, so here there is one option called mark. So here automatically it picks the bar chart. But if you want to change this chart to any other chart, so if you want it to be a pie chart, you can change it. If you want to make this as a bar chart, it will bring back to bar chart. If you make it line chart, you can do that. So whatever you want, you can change, but it should be meaningful, right? So you just don't create a chart which does not make any sense. So what you need to do is, if you click automatic one is the bar chart. Alright, so if you keep your cursor here, you can see here in this tab we did not change the tooltip. So we changed it in the first tab, first sheet. So whatever properties is applied to the first sheet. But if you want to apply the same in this one, you have to again change. So whatever parameter you select in the rows or columns or filters, everything show up in this tooltip. So if you want to change this, you have to again click on tooltip and change it. So that's part of your development. You do that one time so that automatically it will be used for all your design and development. So that's why what we do, we maintain one standard and we just keep copying the worksheet. So you go here and right click, make a duplicate sheet, and then you change it so that the formatting and everything, the font, the sortings or whatever properties like generic properties will remain same. So then you can just change your rows or columns whatever you want. Alright, so that's how your filter works. So let me tell you one more options in the filter before we go for the sorting. Okay, so this icon you need to see because I'm not able to see that, that's why I'm minimizing the screen. So if you click on this, so there is one called customized. Okay, so I don't want to show the all value. So if you click on this customized, show all value, I don't want to show that all value. So what I want is, I just want to give them the option to select one region so they can change it. Customize, you want to check that show all value. All right, and we saw that how to edit the title. So that is how you can say select a region, so that they can select one region. All right, so when you change that, so now the all option is gone. So only you have the 4 options, the 4 region you have, only those 4 region is available in your quick filter. Okay, so let's drag the cells to this filter. So now I will say, in place of sum, I will say average value. Sum of okay, we have the sum of cells, so we will apply by filter on the sum of cell. Click next. Okay, so I can give a range. So how I want to filter it, I don't want to see I don't want to see the cells below 500. If I want to filter by data, so the earlier one was the filter by region, but here this is filter by measure. So you can apply filter through dimension, you can apply filter through your measure as well. So you set a limit saying I just want to filter of where the value is within range of 500k to let me make that as you can just slide it or you can type it, so whatever you want. So I say I want to, automatically it will slide there, and I want to see that 500k to 1000. Okay, right, so it will only show me where there is a profit or sales in that particular range. Okay, so if you want filter, again it will show you, you can change that which range of value, or you can say at least. So I want to see at least where there is a profit. I want to see the region where minimum profit is 200k. So in that way you can set that range, or you can give at least or at most. So that kind of selection you can make, so that automatically your report, your visualization will change. All right, so that's how you apply the filter by dimension, by measure. Okay, now let's move on for sorting. Okay, so same way we will use this my superstore, and I will say cells, drag it into the column. I will drag the department into the row. Let's say category. Okay, so this is a department, these are the categories, and then uh, you have the sales data, total sales. Okay, so in this, so if you want to apply a sorting condition, so how you will do that? So you click on here, that is called sort. Okay, so in place of you write the query, when you write in PL SQL, you write select star from this table, where you apply the filter, where is nothing but your filter, then you say order by descending or order by ascending, so that is nothing but your sorting. So here if you go here, click on sort, then it will give you the option ascending or descending, or alphabetic, or by particular field, or manual. So if you see this manual, you can see that there is a furniture, office supplies, technology, right? So you can do that in this way as well, or you say data source order. So the way it is coming from the data source, the way the record exists in the backend table, you just order it by ascending or order it by descending. Click OK. So there is a sort icon came here. So if you just change it, you just click that, double click there, it will make it descending. You change it, it will make it ascending. So in that way, your department sorting has been applied. Same way, if you want to apply the sorting to category, so say I want to apply it manually. So what is manual? So if you see this, so there is all are sorted by alphabetically, A and then followed by B, then followed by C. So I want forcefully want to take this one. I want to take computer above the chair. Now you click apply, click OK. So now you see that here so bookcase is there above. Okay, computer. So if you want, you can okay. So if you want to change it by descending, you can do that. If you want to change it by ascending, you can do that. So however you want, and then that way you can just double click so that it will be applied, and then you can change it. So anytime you want, you can change it, and anytime you want to clear the sorting, you can remove that at the force sorting, whatever you have applied, you can change that as well. So if you want to sort it by particular field, you can even do that by field, saying I want to sort it by sum of cells. So you can say sum of cells, or you can say average of cells, mini count of head counts. So there are lots of arithmetic functions here which are coming out of box. You are not writing any code, automatically the Tableau will do it for you. Alright, so in that way you applied the sorting, ascending, sorting, descending. So when you visualize it, automatically it will give you the opportunity to sort descending or sort ascending. Alright, so now that's about the sorting. So let's go to, so we'll talk about the groupings. So how you will create the groups. So when we write PL SQL queries, so we talked about select statement, which is nothing but when you are drag and drop something in the rows and columns, that is nothing but the select. When you apply the filter, that is nothing but the where condition. When you apply the order by condition, it's nothing but the sorting. So now we will talk about the groupings, group by. So each and everything what we are learning here in the Tableau desktop, what you do that through PL SQL statement, everything you are doing here drag and drop. So far I have not written any code or any programming or any kind of PL SQL statement to generate the report. What I'm doing is just I'm using the menu options and creating the visualization of our own. Alright, so let me connect to the data. I'll say I'll connect to this one, drag it here. We'll keep doing this so that you will get used to that, how the connection established. So now you see there are two data sources showing here. When I go to cells, it will say it is connected to my store. When I go to filter, it connected to my superstore. If we go to sorting, it connected to my superstore. But when I go for group, I will say I want to connect to the superstore cells training database, the order table. So in this database you see the difference. The order is still in the measure. It is not, the order is not in the dimension. But what we did, the change, we moved how the measure moved to dimension, dimension moved to measure. So that's what we save it to my superstore. That is the difference between these two databases. Alright, so let's take the category into the row. Sum of cells into the column. Okay, so this says the list of categories, and this is the total cells. So now, for example, I don't want to see all these list of categories. I want to group this category into one member by my requirement, group by certain things. So if you group it, so your cells for all these categories belongs to that groups will be summed together and give you the total number, right? So you want to group it. So how you'll be grouping it? So let's say I will select envelope. Keep your shift, like pressing your shift key, then you select multiple, like say envelope, pen, and control, keep the control so that you can select that. So keep envelope, pen, and art supplies. Then you have scissors, then let's say rubber bands or labels. Okay, alright, so suppose I want to group this, then you right click here, create group. Okay, so now we are going to group all these into one category. Create group. Okay, so now you see that the category group created here. So earlier it was only category, now we saw one more called category group because we created a group here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this group and drop it on top of department. So it will ask me department category group. Okay, and I will say that as products. So I will give this hierarchy name. So what we are doing is we are grouping it and then we are creating a hierarchy. So you click on this. So now you see that here one hierarchy that is called product, and that product has a department, and that department has that category group, the group what I created. All right. Okay, so now you have that, and let's say you want to. So if you click on this, so what it will say, it will envelope, labels, paint and art supplies, and 2 more. So all these are part of this group. Alright, so if I say I want to drag and drop, so you can delete this. So now you deleted that and you pull this hierarchy here, and if you click on this, then it will show you that furniture, and then you have this categories, and here if you see that, so it has only those office supplies which we group together. So all these groups, you can change that name. You can click on group. When you click on right click on group, so it will show you the envelope. Okay, so it will show you that group what you have created. So you can create n number of groups however you want. Hold on. You pull that supply cells into the column, and you pull the category group into the row. It has been ungrouped. Let me delete this once again. So you can pull the department here, then you pull the category here, and you can select envelope, label, rubber band, pen and arts, paper, okay, scissor and rulers. Then you right click, you say group, so automatically that has been created as one group. Then you drag that group, drop it on your department. So if you want, okay, so you have that department here, and you drag that department this side. So you see that there is a group got created. So now if you want to view that by this group, so you can click on that group, and then you can drag the item into this category group. So if you drag this product here, so you can see that which items are grouped together. Let me take this. So you can pull the item here, or you can do you can pull that product all together. Okay, so when you click on this plus, so it says item. Within the item you have category, within the category you have the department. So which order you want to arrange it? So you said department, within the department you have categories, within the categories you have suppose items. You can just do it in that way. So rearrange it. So say department, then within the department you have category, then within the category you have items. So if you click on this, let me delete, and you drag the product and drop it here. So what happens? So now you have department, within the department you have the categories, within the categories you have the items. So each category, what are the items? So in that way you created this hierarchy. You created the groups, and then within that groups you have different items, and these categories belongs to departments. So finally you created a whole hierarchy here. So in that way there are lots of real-time scenario where you have to create your own hierarchy to build that visualization. So these are not existing in the backend table, but once you pull all the columns, you build the hierarchy how your visualization should look like. Okay, so that's how you create the items, and then you created the departments. So you reorder it how many layer you want, so accordingly you have to just rearrange that. Excuse me. Your hierarchy will be built. All right, so that's about your grouping. Groups and hierarchies. All right, so that's basically how you created the groups. Let's go for another one called visual grouping. So that's another options. So let me go and open another one. Hold on, let me open that packaged workbook, so you'll see how the packaged workbook opens. Creating visual workbook. Okay, all right, so say so this is a workbook which is connected to my superstore, and it has a row as a category and the column as the sum of cells. So here I want to make a visualization. So what we'll do is, let's select envelope, pen and art supplies, scissor, rulers, maybe labels and rubber band. Okay, so right click, create a group. So now I'll go to, so one group I created as category group. So now we'll go to office machine, create copy or fax, and then let's say computer peripheral. So right click, create another group. Okay, so we created two groups, right? So here that group, right click here, say edit group. So now if you look at this, so we created two groups by taking into this category, so that computer peripherals is one, and envelope and label and pens is other, like another group, and then the rest of the things. So what we'll do is, we'll select this and we'll click rename. So when you click on rename, say this will be desktop supplies. Okay, so now go with the envelope, this one. Oh, okay, let me make this as suppose machineries, machines, and this one let me rename and say desktop supplies. Desktop supplies. Okay, so now we have two groups, and what I'm going to do is select rest of all, and make it as include other. So what I'm going to do, so I just made one is machine, one is desktop supplies, and rest all becomes as others. So now in this field groups, I can give any name, whatever name you want to give. So your custom grouping, right? So now if you look at this, so it become machine, other, and desktop supplies. Okay, so automatically all your groupings, whatever you did that through these groups, automatically the names and everything for your visualization. You are not changing anything in the backend table. What you are doing is you are doing all this customization on your visualization. So in that way, whatever definition they want to use in their visualization, you can just change it without impacting anything to the backend table. You are not changing any backend column names or the backend data system. What you are doing, everything you are changing through your, yeah. So that's all about the visualization on the groupings. So how you create the visualization. Okay, so let's talk about how to create the plots. So we'll talk about another one. So we talked about filters, we talked about sortings, we talked about groups, and how to create the hierarchies. So now let's go and how to create the plots. So these are all there's some worksheet which will be used in the real-time scenario. So that's why I will go over a few of them which will give you more sense what we do in the real time. So if you go here, this is scatter plot. Okay, so okay, here if you see that they are grouping the measures into different folder. So if you want to say these are all related to the actuals, these are all related to the budgets, then you can just drag whichever you want for your reporting requirement. Alright, so this is another database. It is connecting say sample coffee chain MS Access database. Alright, so you have all the dimensions, measures here, rows and columns. So you just need to know which one you need to drag for rows, which one you want to drag for columns. Accordingly you need to build your visualization, right? So let's say marketing. So now I will drag the marketing into the column, and then I'll drag the sales into the row. So I'll say measure. So in measure I will say it is say average. Sum of marketing, I'll say average. Okay, so there's an area code here, so let me drag it to the detail. Okay, so here you see that, so this is there's a row called sales, then column you have marketing, then you want to scatter the plots on which area there is an area code, on which area code how much you have marketing versus sales, how much sales, how much marketing. So you are plotting it into the plotter, so that is called scatter plot. So this is also one graph which generally company ask to look at on respective to the area code. So there is one called geo mapping, so we'll go over that in subsequent training sessions, but this is a very minimal business looks for saying I just want to scatter plot how my sales versus marketing happening in different area code. So there will be area code here, so in that area code how much average marketing and how much sell. So in that way they can keep track of their expenses and revenue subsequently. All right, Okay, so that's all about today. So let me go back here so that we'll see what we have to start again from tomorrow. Okay, so we already talked about all these things. Then we created the visualization, and after that we talked about these navigations, and then we have the extensions, how the extensions work, um, Tableau, packaged workbook, bookmark, and we have talked about the filtering, sortings, visual groups. Then we have talked about the scatter plot. So these two things we will cover again tomorrow. We will continue there, creating the set and what is the heat map. So almost we are on track. So we are going one by one. So how to create the connection, how to explore the data, how to build, how to apply the filters. We talked about context on which way you apply the filter to the region, and then how you edit the headers, how you edit the tooltip, and then what is the sorting conditions, how ascending, descending, or by value, how we apply the sorting. And then we have visual groupings. We did the groupings to change the visualization by grouping multiple category items that we have talked about. Then we saw how to create the scatter plot. So if somebody asks you what is scatter plot, how you plot it, so you can say how you use the area code versus marketing and sales. So if you want to plot in area code the bubble, so it will automatically, the plotting will happen in that particular area code. Then tomorrow we'll talk again, we'll continue the same process. It will be very repetitive. By end of the training session you will be well familiar with what is desktop, how to create connection, how to drag and drop. But all other menu options I will be going over, which are very frequently used, but there are some additional menu options which are not frequently used, but still those are the out of box features available through Tableau. So you should know that as well. So practice, you'll get to know each and every menu options and what is feasible, what is not feasible through Tableau. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue again from there, how to create sets and how to create the heat maps, and there's others like how to create functions. So that is a very important one, how to create calculations and functions. So we will talk about that again tomorrow. Alright guys, so that's all about today's session. Again, I'll talk tomorrow. So I might change the timing from 9 to 9:30, but not sure. If I change, then I'll send across. If not, then we will continue the same schedule. Okay, 9 to 11 schedule. Alright, thanks guys. Talk to you tomorrow.